Cloak and Dagger are an extremely strong character in Marvel Rivals right now. In this video, I'm going to take you through some tips, some knowledge, and try and help you to improve your gameplay using the pair, the dynamic duo. This is Kurt from Rank Up Marvel Rivals, and today we're just going to be chatting a bit about some things you might not know about them, how you can play better with them, and consequently how you can rank up using them in your competitive games. So without further ado, let's get into this guide. So yeah, Cloak and Dagger, obviously quite a unique character in that they have two different sides to them, right? You have Cloak and you have Dagger. Cloak obviously wants to deal damage. He has a auto attack similar to Scarlet Witch that I believe it deals max health damage. You don't really have to aim very hard to hit it, which is, you know, quite, let's say, I don't want to say noob friendly, but you know, if your aim is not too good, that will benefit you. So yeah, Cloak also has a blind ability that is very similar to Dagger's healing ability. So Dagger throws out like a healing square. You'll see it in the gameplay this is from one of my games a few days ago. And Cloak has the same, except for he damages and blinds the enemies when he throws them. So let's get into a little bit about why you can improve, or how you can improve playing Cloak and Dagger, and why they're a good pick right now in competitive. Especially if you enjoy playing strategist, if you enjoy keeping your team healthy, if you enjoy healing. I really think you're going to have a lot of success with this character right now. Dagger's heals are really, really strong, and they just buffed her like auto attack healing. So I think right now it's a great. I know her ultimate's not as crazy as it used to be, but I think now's a really really great time to pick them up and start. You can carry games, you know, with Cloak and Dagger. So I was going to say start carrying games, which you really can do. If you can out heal your opponents, keep your team healthy, and your opponent can't to the same level that you can, you will find wins from that. So yeah, I'm going to go through 5 kind of key tips that I think will help you improve your gameplay. And then yeah, I might also just dip in and out of some general discussion and points about Cloak and Dagger. So by the way, if I refer to Cloak and Dagger as her, please excuse me. I just feel like because you spend most of the time in Dagger state, I've sort of got used to her being a girl, even though obviously Cloak's a boy, so I should use them. But if I do mess up, please accept my apologies. So yeah. So tip number 1 is going to be your positioning for dishing out your heals. One thing I noticed strategists doing in lower ELOs is that they stay really far back from their team and they heal from a distance. They try and heal from, you know, far back away in their own little sort of safe cave. And what ends up happening is that you end up getting Spider-Man, you end up getting, you know, Black Panther, even Star-Lord, Psylocke. You get flanked and you get killed, and no one is there to save you. Stay with your team, you know. Stay with your team. I think it's really crucial that you kind of keep a short to medium distance from your tanks and your DPS so you can heal them quickly. Also, when you stand at the back on your own, you're really easy to kind of single out an attack, whereas when you are kind of up and close with your teammates dishing out that, they might not focus you as much when they've got Thor or when they've got, you know, Groot or Magic, for example, in this game in their face. A lot of the time they're going to focus what's right in front of them, especially the enemy tanks. So you need to be able to position for healing. At the same time, you need to be able to protect yourself with your abilities whilst posturing up aggressively, which I will discuss a little bit later in this guide. But yeah, make sure you position yourself so you can get your auto attacks out easily to your team. One really great thing that's good about Dagger compared to Luna, Snow, or even Invisible Woman is that her heals are like, you don't have to aim your heals directly at them. You need to aim close to them and they sort of lock on. Whereas even though Luna Snow's heals are probably better on paper, you have to be really accurate with them in order for them to hit. And when you're in the middle of a fight or you've got a bloody, Groot in your face or something, sometimes it's nice just to throw them in the direction and know that they're going to get their heals off instead of having to be really spot on and aim. So I really feel that in kind of maybe, well, let's just say not especially in lower ELO, you can really pop off with Cloak and Dagger. So yeah, so tip number 1, that's positioning for healing, and tip number 2 is going to be Cloak. How to use Cloak, the damage, how should you use it. So in my opinion, one problem that a lot of strategists have is that they are just constantly only healing. They think like, oh, my job is just to heal. You've probably seen it before with the no damage rocket guy, just wants to sit back, do the bubbles and heal. That's great, and healing is a big part of your character. It is the biggest part of your character, actually. Healing is extremely important. That is your main purpose. However, it is not your only purpose. That's the whole point of Cloak and Dagger, is the duality of the two things you can offer. Now, the way I recommend to use Cloak's damage is that there will be pockets. Remember, you usually have 2 supports on the team. You shouldn't be solo healing. If you are, good luck, but usually you have another support. Because of this, there will be pockets in the game where your team will have full health. And in those moments, you don't need to keep spamming healing. You should switch to Cloak. Whilst you're observing your teammates, observing their health, you can find pockets where you might not need to heal in that moment. And in those moments, you switch to Cloak, you get some damage off, you try and find a pick. The damage is really quite strong, especially when you combine your E and your basic attack. Dish out some damage. And then when you see your team starts to get some hits, switch back and get back to healing them again. But just look for those little pockets. Blinding an opponent with your E can be really useful for your team. And you might be surprised how much damage Cloak can dish out. So if there are moments where your team's healthy, or if you see someone is, low, or, I think on the enemy team in this game at some point, they have a thing that tried to run at me and kill me. And to be honest, if you play it right, if you get your heal down so he can't chunk you down, your bubble, and you go to Cloak, you can almost kill him 1v1 some of the times, So just don't be afraid to, get involved. Look at your team's health. If they're healthy or they're lacking a little bit of damage, don't be afraid to jump in, find a pocket of space, dish some damage out, and then get back to Dagger and get everyone back up to full health again, because you don't need to be non-stop healing. And one last thing with Cloak is that, if your E is on cooldown, as soon as it's back up, if you have a window to use it, you should be using it again, the blind and damage, because that's obviously part of your damage output. You can switch, throw it out, get back to Dagger, let it go back on cooldown again, just so you're maximizing your output. So yeah, tip number 3 is going to be protecting yourself. Now, as a healer, as a strategist, any strategist in this game, you're no good to your team when you're dead. You need to really, I said earlier that you want to be short to mid-range of your tanks and DPS, which from time to time can put you in a dangerous position. Now, here's 2 really big tips, 2 in 1, let's say here, because this is obviously like a 1 overall tip, but I've got 2 major ways you can protect yourself with Cloak and Dagger, and I think one of them is something I've really picked up, and I think it's probably maybe in high-level play it's quite common, but this might really help you. So, your bubble is really strong. It's great in your tanks because it keeps them super healthy, but as they've recently nerfed Cloak's bubble, and they've buffed her auto attack heal. So auto attack heals are really strong now. If you're staying short to mid range, try and bubble your tanks, but also bubble yourself, because your bubble gives you really rapid healing. So if an enemy tries to dive you, like the Venom in this game or the Thing in this game are doing to me non-stop, you'll see me frequently dropping my bubble on the floor. And what that does is, it makes it so they don't have enough damage to kill me. When they're auto attacking me, I'm already healing back up, So you can bubble yourself and then either switch to Cloak to defend yourself and deal damage, or bubble yourself and heal your teammates still with your auto attacks with your E. So bubbling yourself, or even like bubbling your tanks and walking into the bubble and joining them, can actually be like a good tip, right? So that's the first way to defend yourself. Your second way is obviously when you switch to Cloak, you have your right click that puts you into like the shadow realm where you can't be hit by anything, and also does it to your teammates. But you'll see a lot of the time that your teammates just they don't really notice and they still hit. Like if you auto attack once you go into it, you come out of it, and your teammates often, don't react quick enough and they come straight away out of it. But your right click on Cloak can actually, it makes you invulnerable, so you can use it to dodge Iron Man ult, Scarlet Witch ult, Magneto ult. Any huge damage, you can go into it straight away and it won't hit you. But also you get 3 seconds where you can move with it on, so you can also use it to kind of shadow and get away to a healing pack or something like that. So keep in mind, this is huge. The cooldown is quite long on it, obviously, because it's quite strong, but use it sparingly. Prefer to use your bubble first, unless obviously if it's an ultimate coming in, you need to use it to save your life. But be aware when you're on when either your bubble or your right click is on cooldown, you are really exposed. So try and alternate them. Alternate your bubble, then your right click. Okay, my bubble's back up now, and so on and so on. This is the best way to stay alive and keep healthy. So yeah. Tip number 4 is going to be your ultimate usage. You need to know when to use it, and you need to know how to get the most value out of it. Now, for me, what I try and do, this is just me personally, I hope this helps you as well, is that I try and think, usually on the enemy team, they're going to have a Luna, or they're going to have a Cloak and Dagger of their own, or, usually they have at least one defensive ultimate, otherwise they're probably going to be a little bit in trouble. But, sorry, I try to think to myself, have they ulted already? Like, is their ultimate on cooldown? If it is, I'm going to get huge value out of my ult. Sorry. And secondly, if their Luna ults first, I try and get their ult out first. I try and get their Luna or their Cloak to ult first. And then what I think, because obviously they're going to be invulnerable for kind of 12, 10 seconds after they ult, depending on which character. What I think is, can I keep my team healthy enough without ulting right now? And then once theirs is about to expire, or at least like theirs been on for a few seconds, then use mine so we actually get value out of it. Because if their Luna ults, but I can keep my team healthy enough so they don't get any kills from it, and my ult is ready to go, as soon as that Luna ult finishes, I ult, they don't have any defense for my ult there, and I'm also going to be keeping my team invulnerable for like 8-10 seconds, however long it lasts. So I try and wait out enemy ult and then make the most out of my ult. Now sometimes you might have to match it, sometimes you're in, it's a very tight game, their Luna ults, you ult as well. That's like, it makes both of them kind of, they knock each other out, they balance each other out, right? You're not really getting a positive value, you're not getting a loss from it, it's just a neutral kind of outcome. So I always try and look for net positive outcomes where I wait out their ult and then ult myself to get the most value. But only do this if you can keep your team healthy whilst their team is essentially invulnerable, because obviously in that period of time they should be attacking you. So just keep that in mind. But yeah, try and find moments where the enemy's ults are on cooldowns and you're really going to get value. Be aware of Iron Man ult, be aware of, Magneto ult. Try and keep an eye on the cooldowns. And yeah, use it at the best moment when they don't have much to counter it with, so you can get the most value out of it. Okay. And tip number 5. Work with your other strategists and keep each other alive. You're absolutely no use to your team dead. My priority is healing my tanks, then my DPS when I can. But even more importantly than both of those is my other healer. Because when you're getting dove, by enemy characters, Black Panther, Spider-Man, whatever, you can heal each other like so quickly because you're both healers and you get value from the healing. Like, you need to keep each other alive so you can keep your team alive. So always keep an eye out for your Rocket or for your Luna. Keep each other healthy so you can both dish out as much healing as possible to your team. So yeah, that is a really, really key point. But yeah, overall, just to summarize, tip number 1 was positioning for healing. How you position yourself, I suggest to do short to mid range. Tip number 2, don't be afraid of using your cloak's damage. Try and find pockets where you can deal the damage out. I think I finished this game on around 13,000 damage, which I think for a strategist is really nice, you know. And I also got about 6 or 7 final hits, which, you know, you can get MVP on Cloak and Dagger, and, you know, chipping in for kills with your team is really, really useful. Tip number 3, protect yourself with your bubble, with your shadow on Cloak. You need to keep yourself alive in order to be able to be useful for your team. Obviously, you're no use dead. Tip number 4 is your ultimate usage. Try and get the most value out of your ultimate. Try and use your ult when enemies' ultimates are on cooldown, so you don't just trade them. Try and get actual, you know, net value from them. But if you do have to trade, it's not the end of the world. And tip number 5, work with your other strategists and keep yourselves alive so you can keep the rest of your team alive and, you know, keep them getting kills. So yeah, Cloak and Dagger, a really interesting character, really fun to play in my opinion. One weakness that they do have is that they lack any like mobility abilities. They don't have any double jump, they don't have any dashes, so you're always running to the point. Like, you don't have any quick way to get there, unfortunately. So keep that in mind when trying to escape. But yeah, those are kind of my 5 best tips for her. Let me know in the comments what you thought, if you think these tips will help you. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them. And if you made it this far in the video, I'd like to ask you, what Marvel character would you like for the devs to add to the game? You don't have to give, if you have like ideas for their abilities, please do let me know. But who's your favourite character that's not in the game that you'd like to see in the game? And yeah, hope you enjoyed the video. I hope this helps you rank up in your games. Let me know if there's any characters you'd like to see a guide on next. I'm going to try and do the rest of the strategists, then move on to Vanguards, and then maybe DPS. But yeah, they're not really my strong suit. So yeah, best of luck. Take care. Thank you for watching. Leave a like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. All the best.
3, 2, 2.